Hey 6th graders! Today we're going to be learning from Chapter 4, Lesson 6, Dividing Whole Numbers by Fractions. My title is at the top so that we know what lesson we're on, so I expect that you guys have that lesson as well. And then we have our main ideas column. Remember, you are writing in this column, and our notes column. And just a reminder, you need to be writing this in your table of contents. So, before we get on with the lesson, we are going to be learning a pretty important vocabulary word. The word is reciprocal. Most of you have not heard this word before. So again, you pronounce this reciprocal, okay? And what that means is any two numbers with a product of 1. So again, a reciprocal is any two numbers with a product of 1. And remember, the word number, I'm going to underline that, numbers. There are a variety of numbers. We have rational numbers, irrational numbers, we have fractions, we have improper fractions. So don't just think of whole numbers. Okay, so let's show a couple of examples of what a reciprocal is so that we all have a clear idea. First example. So let's start with the number 3. Now remember, the number 3 can also be written with a 1 in its denominator. I'm going to use a dashed line so we know that we can write it as 3 over 1 and know that that's the same as just 3. Okay, so any two numbers with a product of 1. So I'm going to be multiplying because I need to get a product. And the reciprocal of 3 over 1 would be 1/3. Okay, so then if I multiply these, I should get a product of 1. 3 times 1 is 3, and 1 times 3 is 3. So I got a product of 1. So I think I got this right. So any two numbers with a product of 1, 3 over 1 times 1 over 3 gave me 1. Okay, let's do one more example just to get a better grasp of this. How about 2/5? Okay, and I need to get a product of 1, so I'm going to multiply. And I'm going to multiply it by 5 over 2. So then 2 times 5 is 10, and 5 times 2 is 10, which is 1. Okay, so again, I found a product of 1 using two numbers. So in these examples, (3 over 1 and 1 over 3 are reciprocals. And 2 over 5 and 5 over 2 are also reciprocals. Okay, so the way I found these reciprocals in both of them is by flipping the numerator and denominator. So here, in our first example, I flipped the numerator and denominator. So I put the numerator into the denominator, as you can see here, and I put the numerator into the denominator, into the numerator. Okay, so if you see that switch here, I did the same over here. So let's write that down. flip the numerator and denominator. So numerator, denominator, and I'm going to flip those. So denominator is going to go into the numerator spot, and numerator is going to go into the denominator spot, and that's how you can find this reciprocal, okay? So that's how we're going to be using this as a tool and a strategy to divide whole numbers by fractions. So let's try that in an example. Let's solve 5 divided by 2/3. Okay, so this is a whole number divided by a fraction. And we're going to use the strategy of using reciprocals to solve, okay? One strategy I want us to use is going to be this one. We're going to change this. We're going to rewrite this, and this is how we're going to do it. So let's write rewrite. So we're going to have the whole number. We're going to write the whole number as a fraction. And then we're going to multiply instead of dividing. And we're going to multiply the reciprocal. Okay, so I'm going to highlight a few things real quick. Okay, so the way I'm going to solve this is by rewriting it as a whole number as a fraction. So if you have a whole number, remember you can have 1 as its denominator. I'm going to change the divide sign to multiply, and I'm going to use the reciprocal. And because I'm using the reciprocal, that's why I can change the divide sign to a multiply sign. Okay. So what I originally had was 5 divided by 2/3. This is what I originally had, and I'm going to change that. So I'll just put change over here. Alright, and I'm going to change 5 to a whole number as a fraction. So 5 over 1. I'm going to change the divide sign to a multiply sign. And I'm going to change my fraction to the reciprocal. So remember, in order to do that, I need to flip the numerator and denominator. So my denominator is going to go into the numerator position. So here's my denominator. I'm now flipping it so it's in the numerator, and my numerator is going to go into the denominator. So I'm going to put the 2 into the denominator spot. Okay. Now I can just multiply, which is what we've been doing. So 5 times 3 is going to be 15, and 1 times 2 is 2. Now we have an improper fraction. Let's convert that into a mixed number. So 2 goes into 15 at least 7 times. And then, so 2 times 7 is 14. So we're going to have 1 left over, because remember we need to get to 15. So we're going to have 7 and 1/2 as our mixed number. That's the answer. So that was an example of how to rewrite a division problem involving whole numbers and fractions. We need to write the whole number as a fraction as we did here. Okay, so I'm going to shade that in with orange. So we're following the same steps. We need to change the division sign into a multiply sign. And we need to write the reciprocal of our fraction. Use the wrong color there. That's blue. This is yellow. Okay, so this was lesson 6. We are almost done in the chapter. We have lesson 6, 7, and then lesson 8 is our last lesson until we are done with the chapter. So make sure you are reviewing your notes and going through any videos that you may need to review, and make sure you're going over your notes. Have a nice day.